I grew up in a family where the breakfast table looked perfect. Dad Frank was a successful attorney. Mom Diana was a respected pediatrician. And then there was my younger brother Tommy, the golden child who excelled at everything. I tried so hard to measure up, but somehow my achievements always paled in comparison to his. When Tommy got diagnosed with kidney failure, I never imagined my parents would simply expect me to donate mine without even asking. Before I tell you how my family fell apart over a kidney, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever had to choose between your own well-being and your family's expectations. Our family home in suburban Connecticut looked perfect from the outside. A colonial-style house with a manicured lawn and a mailbox that read The Millers. Inside those walls, though, the dynamics were far from perfect. My father Frank built his reputation as a cutthroat corporate lawyer who never lost a case. My mother Diana worked at the most prestigious children's hospital in the state. They met in college, got married right after graduation, and had me within the first year. I was a decent student, maintained a solid B average throughout school, played baseball, but never made varsity, and generally tried to meet their expectations. When I was 5, Tommy arrived. From the moment he came home from the hospital, it was clear he was special to my parents in a way I never was. Tommy showed signs of extraordinary intelligence early on. By age 3, he could solve complex puzzles designed for kids twice his age. In elementary school, he skipped 2 grades. When he won the state math competition at age 10, my parents threw him a party bigger than any birthday celebration I ever had. "Bobby, why can you not be more like your brother?" became a refrain I heard constantly. If I brought home a B+, they would sigh and say Tommy never gets anything less than an A. When I won second place in the science fair, they barely acknowledged it because Tommy had already won first place the previous year. I tried harder. I stayed up late studying. I joined every club I thought might impress them. Nothing worked. The refrigerator displayed Tommy's achievements, while mine were filed away in drawers forgotten. I remember one Christmas, when I was 16. I saved up for months to buy my parents thoughtful gifts. For my dad, a vintage fountain pen he had admired in a shop window. For my mom, a first edition of her favorite novel. They opened my presents with polite smiles. Then Tommy handed them each a card containing a poem he had written. My mother cried. My father hugged him fiercely. My gifts sat forgotten on the coffee table. Despite everything, I loved Tommy. He was not deliberately cruel or arrogant. He seemed genuinely unaware of the favoritism, accepting the adoration as normal. Sometimes he would share his achievements with me, with such authentic excitement that I could not resent him in those moments. But I resented my parents, deeply. When it came time for college, I chose a state university 4 hours away. I needed the distance. During those years, I discovered myself outside the shadow of the golden child. I made friends who valued me for who I was. I found a passion for graphic design and marketing. I joined a fraternity not because it was prestigious, but because for the first time I felt accepted. In my junior year, I met Sarah. She was studying psychology and worked part-time at the campus counseling center. She had warm brown eyes that crinkled when she laughed, and a way of listening that made you feel important. We connected instantly. With Sarah, I never felt like I was competing for attention or affection. She loved me simply because I was me. After graduation, I landed a job at a marketing firm in Boston. Sarah followed, pursuing her master's in clinical psychology. We moved into a small apartment together, adopted a rescue dog named Max, and built a life that felt genuinely ours. For the first time, I felt proud of my accomplishments, without needing my parents' validation. Meanwhile, Tommy graduated from Harvard with honors, got accepted into a prestigious medical research program, and continued being the perfect son. I saw my family only on major holidays. Calls with my parents consisted mostly of updates about Tommy's latest achievements, and I had accepted that this was simply how things would be, until that Tuesday evening when my phone rang. My mother's voice sounded strained when she asked if I could come home that weekend for an important family meeting. I asked what it was about, but she insisted it needed to be discussed in person. Sarah noticed my concern and suggested she come with me. Looking back, I am grateful she did. We arrived at my parents' house Saturday morning. Tommy's car was already in the driveway. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. My father paced the living room floor. My mother's eyes were red from crying. Tommy sat on the couch looking pale and subdued, nothing like his usually confident self. "Bobby, thank goodness you are here." My mother rushed to hug me, barely acknowledging Sarah's presence. "We have terrible news." My father stopped pacing and cleared his throat. "Tommy has been diagnosed with kidney failure. His condition is deteriorating rapidly due to complications from an autoimmune disorder. He needs a transplant." I looked at Tommy, shocked. He had always been the picture of health. Now, looking closer, I noticed the dark circles under his eyes, the yellowish tint to his skin, how his clothes hung loosely on his frame. "The waiting list for a donor kidney is years long." My mother continued, her voice breaking. "His doctor said family members are the best potential matches. Your father and I were tested immediately, but neither of us is compatible." My father looked at me, his expression a mixture of hope and expectation. "We need you to get tested, Bobby. You could save your brother's life. Not, would you consider getting tested? Or, we know this is a big decision, but would you be willing to help?" Just the assumption that, of course, I would do this. No question, no choice. Sarah squeezed my hand supportively. I agreed to get tested, still processing the news. Tommy thanked me quietly, and I realized this was the first time I had ever seen him vulnerable. The following week, I underwent the compatibility testing. When the results came back, the doctor called my parents first, not me. I found out I was a match when my mother phoned, crying tears of joy, thanking me for saving Tommy, as if I had already agreed to the donation. Sarah suggested we meet with the transplant surgeon independently to understand the risks. Dr. Patterson was forthright. Kidney donation is major surgery with significant recovery time. Most donors lead normal lives with one kidney, but there are risks. Complications can include bleeding, infection, blood clots, and potential long-term issues like high blood pressure. "What about future health concerns?" Sarah asked. "What if Bobby develops kidney problems later in life?" "With only one kidney, any future kidney disease becomes more serious," Dr. Patterson explained. Additionally, certain physical activities might need to be limited, and some medications could pose greater risks. I left the appointment with a heavy weight on my shoulders. This was not the simple solution my parents had made it out to be. This was a life-altering decision with permanent consequences for my health. Over the next few weeks, I began researching kidney donation intensively. I learned about the 6 to 8 weeks of recovery time, the potential for chronic pain, the increased risks during future pregnancies for female donors, and the possibility of not being able to obtain life insurance after donation. Sarah helped me compile a list of questions and concerns. "You need to make this decision for yourself, Bobby," she said. "Not for your parents, not even for Tommy. This is your body and your future at stake." Meanwhile, my parents had already started planning the transplant. My mother called daily with updates about Tommy's deteriorating condition, the surgeon's availability, and implied timelines for my donation. Not once did she ask if I had made a decision or acknowledge the gravity of what they were asking. One evening, a call from an old high school friend, Jake, changed everything. Jake had run into Tommy at a local bar. "I was shocked to see him pounding back shots," Jake said. "I mean, is not he supposed to be really sick?" When I asked him about it, he laughed and said he was enjoying his last hurrah before the transplant. This revelation bothered me deeply. I began paying closer attention to Tommy's social media. Despite being supposedly gravely ill, he was still posting pictures from parties holding drinks, clearly not following medical advice for someone in kidney failure. When I discreetly asked his girlfriend Melissa about Tommy's condition, she revealed something else concerning. The doctors actually diagnosed him over a year ago, but he refused to change his lifestyle or start treatments until it became an emergency. His specialists were furious. The next Sunday dinner at my parents' house, I cautiously brought up these concerns. "Tommy, are you still drinking alcohol?" I thought patients with kidney disease were supposed to avoid that completely. The table fell silent. Tommy looked down at his plate. My father cleared his throat. Bobby, your brother is going through enough without you policing his behavior, my mother snapped. I'm just concerned. If he is not taking care of himself now, what guarantee is there that he will take care of my kidney after the transplant? My father's face reddened. Your kidney. It is a gift, not a loan, with conditions. But I found out he knew about his condition for over a year and ignored treatment recommendations. Is not that relevant? How dare you, my mother hissed. Your brother is suffering and you are looking for excuses. Tommy finally spoke. I made some mistakes, but I am taking it seriously now. Are you? I pressed. Because Jake saw you doing shots at Sullivan's last weekend. The argument escalated rapidly. My parents defended Tommy, fiercely dismissing my concerns as petty excuses. They reminded me of all they had done for me, how Tommy would do the same for me, how family should come first above all else. I left their house that night with Sarah, my mind finally clear. The next day I scheduled another appointment with Dr. Patterson, this time without my family present. Doctor, I have concerns about donating my kidney to someone who might not take proper care of it. I explained my discoveries about Tommy's behavior. Dr. Patterson nodded seriously. These are valid concerns. Transplant recipients must commit to a strict medication regimen and lifestyle changes for the rest of their lives. Alcohol, in particular, can interact with anti-rejection medications and further damage kidney function. After careful consideration and discussions with Sarah and my therapist, I made my decision. I would not donate my kidney to Tommy. Breaking this news to my family was one of the hardest things I have ever done. I invited them to my apartment thinking neutral territory might help. It did not. I cannot donate my kidney to Tommy, I said firmly. I have serious concerns about his commitment to taking care of his health, and I am not willing to undergo major surgery and live with lifelong medical limitations when he has not demonstrated responsibility. The explosion was immediate. My mother burst into tears, wailing that I was killing her son. My father stood up, his face contorted with rage. You selfish, ungrateful child, he spat. After everything we have done for you, this is how you repay us, by sentencing your brother to death. There are other options, I tried to explain. Dialysis, while waiting for a donor, cadaver, kidneys, other living donors who might match. This is not Tommy's only hope. Get out, my father, said his voice cold. If you will not help your brother, you are no son of ours. My mother could not even look at me. Tommy sat silent, staring at his hands. As they left, my father delivered the final blow. Do not contact us again. You are no longer part of this family. The fallout was swift and brutal. My parents froze the college fund they had maintained for me, removed me from their will, and told all our relatives I had abandoned Tommy in his hour of need. Aunts, uncles, and cousins who had been part of my life forever now sent hateful messages or blocked me entirely. Someone, presumably my father, contacted my workplace. Though they could not fire me for a personal medical decision, the atmosphere became uncomfortable as rumors spread. Sarah stood by me, but the strain showed in our relationship too. She supported my decision, but hated seeing the pain it caused me. I started seeing a therapist to cope with the overwhelming guilt, anger, and grief. Some days I questioned my decision, wondering if I could have sacrificed for family peace. Other days I felt righteous in my boundary, setting furious at being treated as nothing more than a spare parts provider for the golden child. 3 months after my decision, I received a formal letter from my parents' attorney. It outlined in cold legal terms that they were officially disowning me. All financial ties were severed. Any belongings still at their house would be donated to charity. I was not to contact them or Tommy. They considered themselves a family of 3, now not 4. I folded the letter neatly and placed it in a box of family mementos. That night, Sarah held me as I cried for the family I had lost, and perhaps never truly had. Life continued. Sarah and I moved to a different apartment further from my parents' influence. I threw myself into work, earning a promotion. We adopted a second dog, a scrappy terrier mix that somehow helped heal my heart. Through therapy, I began to understand the dysfunctional dynamics I had grown up with and how to build healthier relationships. 8 months after being disowned, I ran into Melissa at a coffee shop. She looked surprised to see me but did not walk away. "How is Tommy?" I asked, surprised by how much I still cared despite everything. "He got his transplant 3 weeks ago," she said. A match came through the donor registry. Relief washed over me. "That is great news." "How is he recovering?" Melissa's expression changed. "Actually, that is why I am not with him anymore. He started drinking again almost immediately after surgery. The doctors were furious. I could not watch him destroy himself, and that precious gift someone gave him." My stomach dropped. "Is he okay? For now?" "But he had a scare last week, when his body started showing signs of rejecting the kidney. The doctors think it was triggered by his non-compliance with medications and the alcohol." That night I told Sarah what I had learned. "I feel validated but also incredibly sad," I admitted. "If he is treating a stranger's donated kidney this way, imagine how he would have treated mine." 3 days later, my phone rang with my father's number. After 8 months of silence, seeing his name on my screen was jarring. I almost did not answer, but curiosity won out. "Bobby." My father's voice sounded broken, desperate. "Tommy is in the hospital. The new kidney is failing. The doctors say it is because he has not been following the post-transplant protocol. He needs you. No apology. No acknowledgement of how they had treated me. Just another demand when they needed something. What exactly do you think I can do, Dad? I cannot give him my kidney now, and you made it very clear I am not part of this family anymore. Just come to the hospital," he pleaded. "Memorial room 412. Please." Against Sarah's advice, I went. The scene at the hospital was grim. Tommy lay pale and swollen in the bed, connected to dialysis machines once again. My mother sat beside him, clutching his hand. She barely acknowledged my presence. My father paced the hallway, arguing with a doctor. I moved closer to hear their conversation. "Mr. Miller, we have been very clear with your son about the requirements for transplant patients," the doctor was saying firmly. "The blood tests show a significant amount of alcohol in his system, and he has missed several doses of his anti-rejection medications. These are not suggestions, they are essential for survival. He is young. He made a mistake," my father insisted. "Surely there is something more you can do. We are doing everything medically possible, but your son needs to understand that he has been given a precious gift, and he has a responsibility to care for it." I approached them. "Dad, what is going on?" My father looked at me with a mixture of desperation and resentment. "The doctors say Tommy's body is rejecting the kidney because he has been drinking and skipping his medications." This is not the first incident, the doctor added, seeming relieved to have someone else to speak with. "Your brother has been warned repeatedly about his non-compliance." I asked to see Tommy's chart, explaining that I was his brother. The doctor hesitated but allowed me to review the medical records with him. What I saw shocked me. Multiple instances of alcohol in Tommy's system during routine blood work. Missed appointments. Skipped medication doses. Notes from 3 different doctors expressing concern about his commitment to post-transplant care. When I entered Tommy's room, my mother shot me a venomous look. "Have you come to gloat?" she hissed. "Diana," my father warned, following me in. "He is here to help." "I would like to speak with Tommy alone," I said firmly. After much protest, my parents finally left the room. Tommy looked at me through half-closed eyes. "Hey, big brother," he whispered. "Come to say I told you so." I pulled a chair close to his bed. "No, Tommy. I came because despite everything, I still care about you. But I need to understand why you are doing this to yourself." Something in my tone must have reached him. His face crumpled, and for the first time, since we were children, my little brother began to cry. "I never asked for any of this," he sobbed. "The constant pressure to be perfect, the expectations Mom and Dad putting me on a pedestal. Do you know how terrifying it is to know you cannot fail ever, that the entire family's happiness depends on your success? But the drinking, the medications, it is the only way I feel in control." he admitted. Everyone makes decisions for me. What I should study, what career I should have, whose kidney I should take. When I drink, when I skip those pills, it is the only time I get to decide anything for myself, even if it is self-destructive. In that moment, I saw Tommy clearly for the first time. Not as the golden child who had everything, but as another victim of our parents' toxic dynamics. They had smothered him with expectations while neglecting me, and both approaches had left deep wounds. "Tommy, you need help," I said gently. "Professional help that has nothing to do with your physical health, and you need to start taking responsibility for your choices." "I know," he whispered. "I am scared, Bobby. I will help you, but there need to be boundaries. I cannot keep watching you destroy yourself, and I cannot let Mom and Dad continue their patterns with both of us." When my parents returned, I confronted them with everything I had learned. The years of emotional manipulation, the golden child and scapegoat dynamics, the way they had enabled Tommy's irresponsibility while demanding impossible sacrifice from me. "Tommy is not going to get better until all of us change," I told them. "He needs therapy, not coddling. He needs accountability, not excuses. And I need you to recognize how deeply you have hurt both your children in different ways." My father started to protest, but my mother surprised me by breaking down. "I just wanted what was best for both of you," she cried. "No, Mom. You wanted what made you look best to others. There is a difference." I laid out my conditions. Tommy would enter a rehabilitation program for transplant patients with substance issues. He would commit to therapy, and our parents would attend family counseling to address their enabling behaviors. "If you want me in your lives at all, these are my terms," I said firmly. "I will support Tommy's recovery, but I will not enable him, and I will not be treated as less valuable than him ever again." My father looked ready to argue, but Tommy spoke up from his hospital bed. "They are fair terms, Dad. Bobby is right." It was the first time my brother had ever stood up for me against our parents. The next year brought painful but necessary changes for everyone. Tommy completed his rehabilitation program and maintained 6 months of sobriety. His new kidney began functioning properly again once he actually followed medical advice. He moved into his own apartment, away from our parents' constant supervision, and started making decisions about his own life. I maintained careful boundaries. I would visit Tommy weekly, but I limited contact with my parents to monthly family therapy sessions. Sarah and I got engaged, planning a small ceremony that would focus on people who genuinely supported us. Through therapy, I confronted the deep insecurities that had formed during my childhood. I learned that my value was not determined by how I compared to someone else, not even my brother. I discovered that setting boundaries was not selfish, but necessary for healthy relationships. My parents struggled the most with change. My father, in particular, resisted the therapist's insights about his controlling behavior. My mother vacillated between defensive anger and overwhelming guilt. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, they began to shift. The first significant moment came when my mother called just to ask how my day had been, without mentioning Tommy once. The second was when my father attended one of my work events and seemed genuinely interested in my career. 3 months before my wedding, Tommy asked to meet for coffee. He looked healthier than I had seen him, in years, clear-eyed and relaxed. "I want to thank you," he said, "not just for being there during the hospital crisis, but for having the courage to say no in the first place. You taught me that I have the right to make my own choices, even when they disappoint people who say they love me." "I never wanted to hurt you," I told him honestly. "I know that now. And I want you to know that I understand why you could not donate your kidney to me. You were right about me then. I would not have taken care of it properly because I was not taking care of myself." Tommy was the best man at my wedding. Our parents were invited, but seated in the general audience, not in the places of honor typically reserved for family. It was a boundary that spoke volumes about our new relationship dynamics. During the reception, my father approached me, champagne in hand, but untouched. "I want to apologize," he said stiffly, clearly uncomfortable. "The lawyer in me hates admitting when I am wrong, but I was wrong about many things, Bobby, including how I treated you compared to your brother. I cannot undo the past, but I would like the chance to do better in the future. It was not a perfect apology, but it was a start. I nodded, accepting his words without promising immediate forgiveness. Healing would take time, possibly years. My journey taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to say no. That boundaries are not walls, but necessary spaces where respect can grow. That family should be about mutual support, not one-sided sacrifice. Today, I still have both my kidneys. Tommy is healthy, with his donated one, which he now treats with the respect it deserves. Sarah and I are expecting our first child, a fact that makes my mother tearfully grateful for the chance to be a grandmother. My father calls regularly, still awkward but trying. We are not a perfect family. We never will be. But we are learning to be an honest one, where love does not come with conditions and worth is not measured in achievements or sacrifices. Has your family ever expected you to sacrifice too much for someone else? Have you had to set difficult boundaries with loved ones? Share your story in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life stories, and share with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to put themselves first sometimes. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the hardest choice leads to the most necessary healing.